Have you ever felt lonely? Have you ever felt isolated from this world? Have you ever felt disconnected from everyone around you? Well, I'm absolutely sure that everyone has at some time in their life. But what if it happens to you your whole life, from a little boy to a full-grown man? What if loneliness is the only thing you ever felt?
Well, today's episode of Pyschos, your loneliness will be just a little problem compared to this guy's Jeffrey Dahmer. The guy whose loneliness led him to kill over 17 men. 17 men that were drugged, raped by unconscious, strangled to death, mutilated their body, and preserving some organs for consuming it later. The never-ending loneliness of a guy named Jeffrey Dahmer. Today, we will dig deep down to this curious mind of him.
Jeffrey was born on 21st of May 1960 in West Allis, Wisconsin. He is the first son of Joyce Annette, a teletype machine instructor, and Lionel Dahmer, a college student working towards a degree in chemistry. It was true that at that time, Lionel was not ready for such responsibility. The birth of Jeffrey may be the thing that Lionel and Joyce did not intend to. Jeffrey grew up in a problematic family where his father spent most of his time on study and had little time for him. And when he had time, that time was spent arguing with his wife, who was diagnosed with anxiety problem. The first thing he ever felt was loneliness. When Jeffrey started his first grade, he was a shy, quiet kid who has only a few friends.
He has a weird interest in animal carcasses. He always took dead animals that were killed on the road or in the woods around his house
to dismember or impale the body and kept some of the organs inside a jar and hid it in the woodshed behind his house. He always said that he wondered how each animal fitted together. This passion of his may happen the first time when Jeffrey was 4 years old. When he and his dad were collecting bones of dead animals in the woods, Lionel recalled that Jeffrey was very excited to see that bones and like the sound of it when it cracked.
When Jeffrey was 6 years old, his mom gave birth to another adorable baby boy. At that time, his father was already graduated and got a job as a chemistry. Things seem to get better for Jeffrey now, but most of his father's time spent taking care of his younger brother that was just born and was like an apple of the eye of their parents. Jeffrey felt even more lonely and disconnected from outside the world.
When Jeffrey started to hit his puberty, he found out that he was gay and homosexual. He did not divulge his sexual orientation to his parents. Instead, he kept it to himself and did not tell anyone. He started drinking heavily and fell deep down into an alcoholic world. He became addicted so much that at a certain point, he even drank it in the classroom. His classmate recalled asking him, "Why did you have to drink it in here?" And Jeffrey's reply was, "It's my medicine."
With the homosexuality that he just discovered, he was alone and felt so lonely deep down to the core. He needed someone with the same taste as him, someone who he can talk to, but that never happened. Everything started to get hard for Jeffrey more and more every day. He began fantasizing about sexual dominance over a submissive partner, an unconscious, good-looking submissive partner who will not refuse him, who will not disobey him, and do whatever he pleases. With his raging desires that grew stronger and stronger every day, fantasizing is not enough for him anymore. He wanted to do it for real.
One day, he planned to hit an attractive male jogger whom he has a crush on with his baseball hat and then making sexual use of his unconscious body. Jeffrey concealed himself in bushes on the route where the jogger always passes. He led in, wait for the jogger, baseball bat in hands. Unfortunately, the jogger did not pass him that day. His first attempt was a failure, but his desire never went away. When Jeffrey was 18 years old, his parents decided to divorce, with his mother moving back to her originated hometown with Jeffrey's younger brother, and his father moving out of the house to live in a hotel nearby, leaving Jeffrey alone in his old house with his loneliness that now almost unbearable. Jeffrey committed his first murder not long after his parents divorced and moved out of the house. On June 18, 1978, Jeffrey picked up an 18-year-old hitchhiker named Stephen Hitch. Jeffrey lured the youth to his house on the pretext of the pair drinking alcohol together. After several hours of drinking, Hicks wanted to leave, but Jeffrey didn't want him to. The two got in an argument that ended up in Jeffrey bludgeoning Hicks with a 10-pound dumbbell and strangled him to death. He then stripped the clothes from Hicks' body before masturbating as he stood above the corpse.
The next morning, Jeffrey dissected his body in his cold space and dissolved the flesh in an acid before flushing the solution down the toilet. August that same year, Jeffrey enrolled at Ohio State University, majoring in business. But Jeffrey's short term was completely unproductive, mainly because of his persistent alcohol abuse. And despite his father having paid in advance, Jeffrey dropped out after 3 months. Upon his father urging, Jeffrey enlisted in the U.S. Army, while he trained as a medical specialist at Fort Sam Houston,
where he got a chance to learn and train in something he was passionate about, dissecting humans' body, and became an expert in humans' anatomy. Being a soldier helps getting his life back in a good state of mind, but his addiction to alcohol still persisted and did not go away so easily. In March 1981, Jeffrey was reported unsuitable for military service and later discharged from the army.
Jeffrey's father tried to help his son out of an alcoholic world, but did not seem to succeed in any way. So, in 1981, he decided to send Jeffrey off to live with his grandmother, who the only one Jeffrey seemed to display any affection with.
He hoped that, with his grandmother's influence and the change of scenery, might help him from alcohol abuse problem. Jeffrey's behavior seems to change. He went to the church with his grandmother every Sunday, do the house chores, and abided most of her house rules. But he still did not stop drinking. He was still unemployed and spent most of the money his grandmother gave him on alcohol.
In late 1985, Jeffrey began immersing himself into a nightlife. He became a regular guest at Gay's Bar House, which he described as a relaxing place. His sexual needs is far different than any other homosexual. He needs an unconscious partner, a partner whom he can control, determine, and do whatever he pleases with.
For this reason, he began dropping his sleeping pills into his partner's drinks and had sex with their unconscious bodies, following approximately 12 cases, and a complaint from the customers who woke up and did not know what happened to them. The manager of the bathhouse found out about the incidents and Jeffrey's membership was revoked.
Jeffrey committed his second murder on November 1987.
He met a 25-year-old Ontonagon native named Stephen Tuomi at a gay bar and persuaded him to return to the hotel where Jeffrey had rented a room earlier. According to Jeffrey, he did not intend to kill Tuomi. He just wanted to drug him and have sex with him while he's unconscious. However, the next morning, he woke up to find Tuomi lying dead on the bed, his chest crushed in and blood seeping from his mouth. Jeffrey stated that he had no memory of having killed Tuomi and did not know what had happened. To dispose of Tuomi's body, he severed the head, arms, and legs from the torso, then cut the flesh into pieces small enough to handle. He then placed the flesh inside plastic garbage bags and disposed it in the trash in front of his grandmother's house, except for Tuomi's head. He boiled Tuomi's head in an acid bin and bleached in an anaphor to retain the skull, which he then used as stimulus for masturbation when he missed a man named Stephen Tuomi.
The death of Tuomi seems to be the last chain that holds the guilty beast inside of him. And that right now, that chain is completely broken. Jeffrey began actively seek victims. 2 months after he killed Tuomi,
Jeffrey met a 14-year-old male prostitute named James Dockstater. Jeffrey offered the boy $50 in exchange for the boy to post nude pictures for him. And just like Tuomi, Jeffrey drugged the boy, had sex with his unconscious body, strangled him to death, dismembered the body, and then preserved the skull as his monument for what he did. Jeffrey went on to kill 2 more men, Richard Guerrero and Anthony Sears, before moving out of his grandmother's house to live alone at Oxford apartment.
Now that he has as much freedom as he wanted, and don't have to worry about his grandmother finding out, he began to be more dedicated with his killings. After he drugged and strangled his victims,
he started taking pictures of his dead victims with a Polaroid camera in weird positions and preserving the victims' organs such as heart, liver, arms, and legs for consuming it later.
He went on to kill, dismember, and perform cannibalism on 12 more men before his final judgment comes.
On July 22, 1991, Jeffrey approached a 32-year-old Tracy Edwards in a gay bar, offering him $100 to go back to his apartment and post nude photographs for him. Edwards agreed and went back with him. Upon entering Jeffrey's apartment, Edwards noted a foul odor and several bins of acid inside the room. After talking for a while, Edwards responded to Jeffrey's request to turn back and look at his tropical fish. After he turned his back, Jeffrey suddenly put a handcuff on his wrist, but managed to cuff only one wrist. Edwards now got suspicious, asking Jeffrey, "What the hell are you doing?" Where he responded, "It's just a game, I wanted to play with you." Jeffrey then took a large kitchen knife and softly dragged it across Edwards' body and told Edward that, "I'm going to eat your heart," with a smile on his face.
Edwards knew that this guy was not right and needed to get out of his room as soon as possible. But Edwards decided to play along. He started drinking beer with Jeffrey and waited until Jeffrey got slightly drunk. When Jeffrey got drunk, he asked Jeffrey if he could use the bathroom.
When he rose up from the couch, he punched Jeffrey in the face so hard that it knocked Jeffrey off the couch. Edwards then ran out of the unlocked front door.
At 11:30 p.m., Edwards informed 2 police officers that a freak had put handcuffs on him and asked if they could go investigate this guy's apartment. When they arrived at the apartment, Jeffrey reluctantly invited them in. Inside, they also noted a foul odor and several bins of acid, just like Edward did. The 2 police officers started investigating the room.
One of the officers saw an open drawer, which upon closer look contained large amount of Polaroid pictures, many of which were dismembered human bodies. When Jeffrey saw that the officer found the picture, he tried to fight his way off to the front door, but the 2 officers quickly overpowered him and cuffed his hands behind his back.
The 2 officers called for backup, and the 2 officers was conducted on the apartment. And what they found, according to one of the investigators, was a hell on earth.
They found a total of 4 severed heads, 7 scalps, 2 severed and preserved penises, 3 dismembered torsos, and inside the refrigerator, they found 2 human hearts and a portion of arm muscle, each wrapped inside plastic bags upon the shelves. Jeffrey was severely bludgeoned on the head by a metal bar by Christopher Scaver, who later stated that he wanted to revenge Jeffrey on what he did with his fellow black friends. Jeffrey was rushed to a hospital but was pronounced dead 1 hour later, ending the life of this lonely soul.
That's all for now. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Psycho. And don't forget,
There are so many horrible things that human can do, and the next cycle might be next to you. So don't forget, live carefully and don't touch any strangers. Goodbye.